We are live on Facebook. Welcome everyone to the Facebook Live Seeds Storyteller Series with Andrea Rabold, and my dog on cue just saw a squirrel outside the window as we go live. And so welcome you guys, and we have a half hour of an amazing conversation with one of my favorite people in the world, Andrea Rabold, Executive Director of Mirror Image Arts. And as I share this video to our pages, she's going to tell us a little bit about Mirror Image Arts and the Restorative Justice Theater program that they're up to at her amazing organization. So go, Andrea.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. I have to share that this is my first Facebook Live event, so I'm really excited about trying something new this morning. We were just talking about how beautiful it is outside right now, and I am grateful to be with all of you beautiful people. Mirror Image Arts is an organization that's been around for 10 years, and we are essentially empowering young people through social emotional learning and theater. So that is our arts. One of the ways that we do that is through our restorative theater program, which is the one that Sarah was just mentioning. And that is, we work with young people, specifically young boys inside of the juvenile justice system. They are generally ages, anywhere from, typically they can be in there, I think, as early as 9, but typically we are working with those that are between like 12 and 13 all the way up till 18, 19. Essentially, we've been doing that program with Mirror Image Arts for actually less than 3 months, but we acquired the program through one of our phenomenal artists. Her name is Maya Osterman Ben Grack, and she is also a program manager with Mirror Image Arts, and she has been working on this project. It is her heart project, and she has been working on it for close to 5 years. And
Wow.
we had the honor of partnering with her and bringing on her program so that it can soar to the heights that it deserves to soar to.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
How did we do? Or are we, have you been able to share, or do you need me to keep going?
Another 10 seconds. Go.
Okay, I can do it. So anyway, the only other thing I wanted to share is we actually are typically working with young people between 8 and 22. And we work in the schools, we work in community centers, we work with other community organizations, and we work in the Juvenile Justice Center. So we are going wherever our young people are.
It's amazing. Amazing. So, you guys, thank you for joining. And just so you know, Andrea and I are going to be having a conversation with each other and with y'all. We're not going to be responding to comments during the live, but after, if you have questions, if you have things that are resonating with you, hit the heart button, hit the like button. If you have things that are confusing or you disagree with, let's have a conversation. Our goal with this is to really have this sense of using this gift of technology to have a conversation around the world about what is happening in the juvenile justice systems in our country and around the world. So what I love about what Andrea and her organization is up to is they are very present to these kiddos with these messages of both great affirmation in their identities here and now, and planting these seeds of hope for their futures, which we're going to get into as we get into the conversation with Andrea. But before we do that, I just want to take a moment, and for those of you that don't know who I am and what this conversation is, my name is Sarah Davison-Tracy. I am an author. I just published 2 books last year, Live Ablaze and Soulfully Ablaze. And I'm the founder of Seeds of Exchange. And Seeds of Exchange is a community, a collective of everyday people that are looking to use their gifts to make a difference and to light up the world, and to do that together. So we have a lot of these conversations because this is how we know change gets made. And the reason we started this Seeds Storyteller Series is not just to sit back and hear this amazingly inspirational friend of mine, Andrea, which she is, but it is with this invitation for you to lean in and for you to find what it is that is inspiring you, what it is that is giving you goosebumps, what it is that is making you think, oh my gosh, connecting some dots in your life, whether it's to be a part of her organization and volunteer, give money, be a part of what they're up to, which is always on the table, please do. Or if it's outside of the work of Mirror Image Arts in your own life, digging into your family, your passions, your purpose, that is our goal. So please pay attention. We call it kind of the treasure hunt of our lives. Pay attention to what it is that you're feeling and thinking. And we're going to, as we go through this, keep looping back to that, because just watching something is not going to create change. It's not going to help you make the difference that you're destined to make. But leaning in and connecting with Andrea's story is going to make a difference, and will ignite something in you. That is our hope, our dream. We believe if you're on this live, it's the stuff of destiny. So welcome to the destiny of this moment in your life. And before we get to the conversation that I'm so excited to have with Andrea, we're going to do what we do often, which is start with a place of pause. I have 10 of these places of pause in Live Ablaze because I need them like I need air. Life is so busy and so full, and at times so confusing. I need to just take a moment, take a beat, and take a breath. So what we're going to do for this place of pause is I'm going to read a very beginning part of just a nudge to be still, to be quiet. And then Andrea is going to take us through a breath, a process that they do with their kids in their Mirror Image Arts program that we did right before the live in our pre-call. And I just was like, oh my gosh, please do this with us today. So that's what's happening. So wherever you are, if you are able, if you have the luxury, if you can like settle back in your seat, perhaps even close your eyes. If you're driving, just settle into your seat and keep your eyes open. And welcome. So be still, surrender. Take this moment, whatever time of day it is, wherever you find yourself, and just be. This is not the time to do, think, plan, consider, but breathe, relax. Andrea.
So one of the things that we ask our young people in our program to do at any given point when we just feel it's necessary is to take time to breathe. We just don't breathe enough together as ourselves. So I would love to just lead this group through a breath. And you're just going to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're going to do it again. Breathe in your nose. Relax at the top. Breathe out through your mouth. And one more time, because I need it today. In your nose, and then let it out with a big sigh. And then once you have that space in your heart, I always love to just kind of bring it back to the body. So wiggle your fingers. Shake out your wrists and your hands. And since we're sitting in the seat, go to your toes, wiggle your toes, maybe even circle your feet a couple of times in your ankles, play the piano with your hands, and then just take your hands all the way up and your arms over to the sky. Reach up as high as you can, if you can, and open your heart as your arms come back down to your sides. And just breathe into that heart space. And slowly lower your arms, keeping that heart out to the rest of the world for the rest of the world to see. I always need that. That never gets old.
Thank you. That's so awesome. Okay, guys, so we're going to get into this conversation. For those of you that just joined us, this is the Seeds Storyteller Series with my dear sister, Andrea Reybold, Executive Director of Mirror Image Arts. And we are here to have a conversation about what her organization is up to, In the write-up, there are lots of ways that you can kind of go into, I call it the mirror image arts, like the vortex. Like there's the website and the Facebook link pages and a link to a fundraising campaign that we just launched today that we're going to run throughout the month of February. All kinds of things. An event here in Denver for those of you that are local that we'd love for you to come to on February 11th. But I don't want to get into all that stuff here. It's all written up because I want to hear from our sister Andrea, and she's going to talk to us about what they're up to. But before she gets into the what and the who of mirror image arts, I asked her to share with us the why of Andrea Reybold. So would you share with us, girl, what it is that has led you in your life to be a part of and to be a leader and a collaborator with the work of mirror image arts today?
Yeah, I think that the best way I can put this is that it took me a long time to understand this about myself, but actually a dear friend of mine, including the founder of this organization, Aaron Jorgensen, helped me realize that I have become the adult that I needed as a child. There was a lot of there's a lot of power that I had, as a lot of young people do, that was just unharnessed. And we sometimes, in effort to help them learn and grow, we sort of squash the power that is them inside already. And instead of allowing that to be free and open and engaged, we often say that we have more to teach than we have to learn from them. And in some of my situations growing up, I just had a lot of things that I really wanted to say, and through societal reasons, through familial reasons, there was just a lot of times that I didn't feel comfortable inside of that power. If anything, I just felt disenfranchised by the way that adults and young people interacted, and that we have so much to learn from young people and the way that they learn and grow and develop and are free and joyful and expansive and just they're unobstructed.
Yeah.
They're unobstructed. And we feel like we have more to teach them than we have to learn from them. So there was just a lot of places in my life where that showed up, and a lot of I call them my poor management systems were created out of feeling squashed,
Wow.
out of not being able to live into my power. And one of those things was earlier on, I experienced a lot of mental health anguish, and I ended up placing all of that energy into an eating disorder. And that is how I tried to control all of my circumstances around me. And I have spent years and years trying to come up with different coping mechanisms that were not that kind of coping mechanism. And I just want for all of our young people, whether they're experiencing exactly what I experienced or not, but I want them to know that they have so much potential inside of them, and they have so much freedom and joy, and have so much to teach us, that I wanted to give them, me personally, I wanted to give them a place and space in which to do that and to feel that. And then we, as Mirror Image Arts, wanted to create an environment that could actually sustain and open that up for them.
Wow. Thank you. What I love about that is there's this theme, I think, in any degree of telling the real, the raw and the real in our stories. There's always, I haven't yet found an occasion where this is not true. This sense of, in your story right here, right now, Andrea, it's a sense of there is always like this sense of purpose in the pain, eventually, not in the moment. In the moment, it sucks, and it's not right a lot of times. I'm not saying that the abuse that people suffer and the pain that people suffer is right. But what I am saying is I have found over and over that no matter what the cause, there is so often that sense of, wow, what I have to give to the world is it heals me and it heals the world, and it's connected to the hard stuff that happened to me. And I have a friend, and he calls it the gold that gets created in the fire you know, or the flowers that grow out of the cracks, you know, in the sidewalk. So thank you for being willing to share. I call it the behind the curtain story of Andrea. So can we take a moment and can you educate me and those that are watching about the juvenile justice system? What is that kind of, what is happening in that system, and why is what you guys are doing there, why is it so important?
Yeah. So I wish I had the study in front of me. I didn't come prepared, but there is a study out there, and I will.
I'll put a link in the write-up. I'll add it.
Amazing.
Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you. And I encourage anyone that is really interested in this topic to definitely read, because when you talk about pulling back the curtain, this really does that in a way that also provides hope. Like there's the problem, there's what's happening and why it started happening like that, and then there is a level of hope and a solution around what we can do with the systems that have been created already. So therefore it's called Bound and Broken. It is a difficult read, but there is some level of hope and solution inside of it. So if you are interested, I would highly recommend that you read it, and thanks for providing the link. But Bound and Broken suggests that Colorado is actually one of 2 states that is more known for its punitive practices inside of the juvenile justice system. And the punitive practices, a couple of different ones that they utilize to control what's happening in the system is something called the RAP, which is just a pretty, I try to stay as politically open as possible, but it's a pretty horrific description of what we are doing to our young people who have already experienced trauma and may be experiencing trauma even inside of that moment. It is a control mechanism. It is a body wrap that basically physically ties their hands down by their sides, and it forces them to sit at an awkward angle, and it tightens around their chest. All of the things that for somebody who might be experiencing anxiety, pain, trauma, those sound like the complete opposite things that you would want to do to help somebody calm down in situations like that. So if they're not using that, then they're potentially also using the other, which is isolation, where we just send them off for hours on end with no assistance to help them through or process through anything that's happening for them. We just sort of send them off to explore their thoughts on their own. And for some young people, maybe that's actually something they might eventually be able to figure out on their own. But most of us need some level of support and love in order to be able to through all of this stuff that's happened to us that has gotten us here to begin with. So the 2 practices that are used often and quite a lot inside of the Colorado juvenile justice system. And our program is one of the only kind inside of the state of Colorado that's using theater specifically. But it is helping our young men inside of the system who have felt largely marginalized or disenfranchised by everybody else in their lives. They've been forced by their choices, but they've been forced into this system that is on the outside of society. And then we are going to, even when they get out, we're going to cause them additional challenges in order to try to reestablish inside of society. It feels very hopeless. Like there are moments that even in talking with our young people in there, they're just like, there's nothing left for me. And these are kids like 12 and 13, and they're saying that there is nothing else that they are able to do in this lifetime because the odds are just stacked up against them. So our program really works with them specifically around identity and owning their story and retelling it in the way that they want to tell it. So that they can own and understand, like you said, Sarah, the gold that has been created for them in order to live a path and purpose that they never knew they were capable of doing. But they have to, in some ways, because of the coping mechanisms that they've learned over time, they have to they have to evaluate those coping mechanisms, and then they have to try to reestablish new ones. And our program is almost acting as a disruptor to who they think they are,
who they actually are and who they can become. And we do it through
Wow.
storytelling, through theater, through social emotional learning, because there's some things that you just need to know about your emotions and
Yeah.
know about how you manage feelings. So we are using theater as sort of the catalyst in order for them to feel all of those things and move through their journey so that they can feel like they can be somebody and
Wow.
not stuck in all of the ways that we have formed or shaped them up to this point.
Wow. Will you tell that story, Andrea, of just that shocked you about the mirror, the lack of mirrors?
So oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's it.
So we have there. So everything that I shared is kind of like the high level, what we're ultimately overarchingly trying to do inside of a system that is relatively, even for me, like it's a little bit intimidating. And I have a lot of power and a lot of privilege, even being an executive director of the
Yeah.
organization, being like all of these other things. There are other things that have worked against me, but I would even say for me,
Yeah.
having been criminalized, even I go into this system and I'm just a little overwhelmed by
Yeah.
the feeling from the system. And to add to it, I'll throw an undercurrent underneath that. So that's the bigger problem. But underneath that is the individual and what an individual experiences. And I think there was one day that I heard this story that I had been dealing with the system. And then I heard the story, like the individual
Yeah.
story inside of it. And it just struck my heart in a way that I've really had an interesting time trying to come back from. But I learned that one of our young men who had been in the system, I think when he was 11 or 12, and he was now about to get out at 19, he had spent the formative years between 11 and 19 inside of that system. And I want to pause there just because that takes a lot to understand.
Yeah.
That 11 to 19. But then I learned that he did all of his growing up from 11 to 19 without any mirrors. There are no mirrors in that system. And I can imagine all the reasons why safety wise, maybe we don't have
Yeah.
mirrors in the system, but to understand what it would feel like or be to grow from 11 to 19 and not be able to physically see who you are becoming. And then to physically see, like I look in the mirror sometimes and I'm like, oh girl, you are stressed. You can see it like a line etched across your forehead. You can tell you have that 15-month-old, like you are sleep deprived. And to not even be able to see what your emotional qualities are that day, or to see you smile at yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're cool, you're good, you're an
Yeah.
awesome human being. Like you can't see any of that. I think that just for me, just like wrapped itself around my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what that
Well,
must feel.
yeah. And just the connection with even the literal name of your organization and the mirrors, right? That that these kids get to be for each other and actually ultimately see themselves with dignity and with destiny. And I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
So give us I would love to have one last kind of word from you before we wrap up about what is it that you're the hope, because I know it's a brand new program, which by the way, for those of you that are just joining, we started launched just today February month-long Facebook fundraising campaign that the goal is $1,200 in a month, which is nothing. We can do that in this community of wildly generous people. And the goal is to be able to sponsor the 3 of these guys in the restorative justice program to be able to have this experience with Mirror Image Arts, with Maya, their staff that is leading and launching this program. So the link for that is also in the write-up. So please, if that interests you, please join us. But since you are just starting it, what would you say is, based on all of the years of doing this work, what would you say is the hope that these kids, once they experience this program, what would you say is the hope of what it is what's the seed that's going to be planted in them? What's going to be the takeaway how will they be changed in your wildest hopes and dreams after the experience of the restorative justice program with mirror image arts?
Yeah, I'll go the extreme.
Yeah, go
There's
big.
a lot of other impact along the way, but for
Yeah.
me and for my staff, I think it all comes down to having human beings who know their potential and know their power and are clear and intentional on their purpose, have
Yeah.
so much more space to love instead of
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
And in love, we can come together around divisive issues, around things not just like we may not agree on, to have a dialogue to improve the things that we're doing, because everything can always be improved, rather than coming from a place of hate or a place of outrage or a place of inactivity and complacency or catharsism, like all of those pieces that that I do see around us that prevent us from being our best, most possible potential.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Ultimately,
That's the dream.
we want kids who love instead of hate.
Yeah. Wow. Talk about a pause. And I know I said that was our last question, but while you were talking, I had a hit. I would want you to share one, if you can do it in a minute or two, if you would. Can you walk us through, like, when a kid enters into the restorative justice theater program, can you just dumb it down for us? Like, what do they experience? What do they do? How do they work together with Maya and with each other?
Yeah. So this I'm like, for those of you that are in Denver, come and please see Maya present on this, because she has a lot more detail than even I do, but she's in there with them every day. But what I can tell you is that with every mirror image arts program, we we work really hard to create an environment where everybody feels like they belong. And so one of the ways we do that is we always stand in a standing circle together, so that power has been balanced. And that there is no one leader in particular, that everybody is staring at each other and has the potential to lead at any point. So that's where we start. We start in a standing circle, and we always start with warm-ups, because for us, we're theater artists. So we use our body and our faces and our voices for our craft. And so that's how we weave in the theater artistry. So we do warm-ups, which also helps them get out of their head and into their body. When you can get into your body, you can trust and be intuitive and instinctive. And that is your best. Like, you can make good choices out of that because you make your heart choices. So we'll do activities that help warm our bodies up. And then we'll do very, very specific, depending upon what we're working on that day, we'll do very specific theater activities. Like, if we're trying to create empathy that day, we have different kinds of theater activities that allow them to create empathy for one another. One might be like conflict, if we're just trying to learn how to be in conflict with each other without through love. We will do conflict line improvs, because that's an opportunity for you to stay in conflict with each other. And it's using an art form that's part of theater called improvisation, which you don't come with any perceived script. It's just happening in the moment and you're just reacting to the other person. So that's another example of how we use theater activities very specifically targeted towards a social emotional opportunity for learning and growth. And then all of this is working towards them devising their own, using their own stories to devise a theater piece that they will actually perform for their parents, for their family members, and for those staff that are inside of the Juvenile Justice Center. So that's what it's all.
How long is that program? Like from when they do that to the piece that they create and perform?
Yeah, I think it's between 28 and 30 weeks.
Wow.
So I know 8 and 10 and 12, I believe.
That's amazing.
I did my math correctly. I don't know if anybody else.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I think it's up to 30 weeks that we're with them.
Okay. Thank you for that. It's cool to have a little picture of how that circle and how the different ways to engage and inform and teach is done in a theatrical way. Because what I hear you... what's that?
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to add one more thing that makes ours a little bit unique and different, is because some juvenile justice centers or detention centers are transient, and our boys are with us for, they're in there for
we're in a long-term facility, so they're anywhere between 2 and 6 years.
Wow.
So we do have the opportunity to work with them over that 30 weeks and beyond.
Wow. It's amazing. Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
You inspire me and make me proud every time we are together. This is no exception. So before we wrap up, Andrea and I really wanted to end this conversation with a very intentional circling of the story loop back to y'all. And again, for those of you that came on after our intro, our goal for this Seeds Storyteller Series is, yes, to be inspired from an amazing human being, Andrea Rabold. And it is with this fundamental belief that every single person on the planet is here with a gift, is here with a way to make a difference that really matters. And so what we want to do is say, what is one thing that you would like to take from this story, from this conversation, whether you caught the whole thing or the last minute? What is one thing that you want to take into your day, into your life, and do or think or be different? Like, what has changed? What is an action you want to take? If you are on the live, please comment below and share with us. If it's on a replay, still, please loop in and share. Because there is something that happens, right? There's a magic that happens when we link the ways that we're inspired and the things that are kind of exciting us and intriguing us, when we link those to action, so that it kind of grounds it and it makes it go from a less heady thing into like, wow, I learned something and now I am different and I'm going to do different. So yeah, what's percolating in you? And please share it with a live person, like that you are having coffee with later today, or a colleague at lunch, or a student, if you're a student that you're going to school with, because there's something right about this virtual thing is awesome, but there's something about being with a human being that you're going to see again that can help loop back the story that you tell them today in the future, because we got to be witnesses to each other's steps and leaps. I believe that with all my heart. And the second thing that we want to loop back to y'all that are watching is to definitely acknowledge, Andrea talked about that both in her story and in the story of these kids that she is serving and loving, that life is so hard for so many people right now. And so what we want to also acknowledge and just share is love, is this sense of if there's a way you need support, and if you don't want to post it in the comments below, please private message me, and I, with your permission, will share it with Andrea, and we will commit to be encircling you with love. If there's any specific thing you need in terms of support, that is what this community is about. We are not talking about community in a heady way. We're looking to really, like, what do you need and how can we support it sort of community, okay? So if you are in a place of pain, our hearts are with you. We love you. Don't give up. Reach out. Don't go it alone. This isolation thing that Andrea talked about, that's a death blow when you're in the depths of despair. So, Andrea, before we wrap up, I would love to have one last word from you. What's one last seed you want to plant and share and invite our folks to before we wrap up this conversation?
Yeah, I am just a firm believer in pausing. And that's where you inspire me, girl, because this world is moving so fast.
Yeah.
In the pause, you see people, you see yourself, you see people, and you have time to ask them how they're doing and mean it, to ask them what they need and mean it, to ask them if they just need somebody to sit with them. But I just think that if we can be that for each other,
and we can give that of ourselves, then we can also receive that, and be open to receiving that. And for me, connection is the thing that's going to get us all through this.
Wow.
This life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. Beautiful. Okay, y'all, we're gonna wrap up, but before we do, just in closing, we just want to make sure that you hear us say, you are loved, you matter, you belong. We belong to each other. And let's stand tall together and light up the world. Love you guys. Can't wait to keep the conversation going. Have an awesome day. Bye.